Hola, ¿cómo están todos? Continuamos con esta historia de la familia Finch. Acá entramos con un ático.
After Sam died, my mom and Edie got really close. They'd both lost a lot.
Ahí sí, no es para nada. Qué bárbaro.
I can't imagine my mom ever writing poetry, and yet...
Poema para Gus.
A poem for Gus, who always said the wedding was a bad idea.
Que la boda era una
Our
mala
father
idea.
never hit us kids, at least not very hard, before the day my brother said with teenage disregard that he'd be dead before he'd see a wedding in our yard.
No, qué bien hecho. Movemos la cometa. Ah, está buenísimo.
My father made him come, of course, but Gus stood far apart, just flew his kite and bottled up the storm inside his heart.
No sé si leyeron, mi padre le obligó a asistir, pero Gus se acercó y se limitó a volar la cometa para dominar su ira interior. Por si no lo llegan a leer. Porque a veces está muy clara la
Tried
letra.
to talk him out of it, but though he'd never met her, we don't need a stepmom were the words that I
I now
remember.
pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss the bride.
Muy bien hecho. La verdad que... Acá hay más letras.
When the time for photos came, Dad ordered him to come here. But Gus declined and as a sign held up his middle finger.
Terrible chiquitito.
The wind picked up and panicked geese appeared and quickly went. But all the humans did that day was go inside the tent.
El viento se levantó y las aves movían las zarpas y todos los humanos se metieron en la carpa.
The rain came down in buckets then, but no one seemed afraid that nature might destroy the tent our dad had crudely made.
Qué bien hecho.
The thunder sounded much too close and full of angry power. But all my father said to this was, "Make the music louder."
No.
I wish that I could truly say I thought about you on that day. Out there on the beach alone, just you, the wind, the sea and foam.
No, qué garra.
But I didn't. Until we found you.
She never talked about him, but Mom told me once if I was a boy, they were going to name me Gus.
Ahí tenemos la cometa, mira. Qué garra. ¿Traco por acá? Ah, sí.
My mom moved up to the loft after her brothers died. At the time, it was as far away as she could get. She spent a summer building houses in Calcutta, where she met my dad, Sanjay.
Sanjay, mi padre.
Religion was another thing my mom never talked about, but I think it helped her a lot after her dad died. My mom moved to India a week after graduation and got a job teaching English.
Mi madre se mudó a la India una semana después de la graduación y consiguió trabajo dando clases de inglés.
Louis was born a year later. When my dad died, I don't think Mom knew where else to go. I'm sure Edie was happy to have her back. The house had to get a little bigger, but Edie was used to that. And for a while, things were good. Almost normal. But it didn't last.
Pero no duró. Aparece un salón de clases, como si los chicos tomaban clases ahí mismo.
The beginning of the end was Milton's 10th birthday, when Edie gave him a castle.
Qué bien hecho. Qué hermoso lugar. Qué buena vista. Una vista preciosa. Cómo están pintados los pasos.
Milton Finch in The Magic
Pincel
Paintbrush.
mágico. Los viejos dibujos animados. Todos hemos hecho alguna vez.
I was 4 when Milton disappeared.
Como que desapareció atrás de la puerta mágica, una manera simbólica de representar la desaparición de
Mom
este
spent
chico de
months
10 años.
searching for my brother. Then she sealed the doors.
Qué bárbaro, cómo ha rondado
Whatever
la...
Milton had found in the house, Mom didn't want it getting out.
cómo ha rondado la tragedia alrededor de esta familia, porque y allá
Mom
vemos la casa.
definitely blamed Edie, but I think Louis blamed himself.
Ahí está la casa que está hundida.
After he graduated, he just spent more and more time in his room. Until Mom got him a job at the cannery.
Claro, es el que traía todos los enlatados a la casa. Que lo vimos en el primer capítulo. Les dejo después un enlace para...
Louis's room smelled very, very familiar. That part of him lived on.
Les voy a dejar un enlace, más que todo por si se perdieron los capítulos anteriores, para que puedan ver todos los capítulos desde el comienzo, ¿sí? Porque es una historia para agarrarla desde el comienzo.
Dear Mrs. Finch, as Lewis's psychiatrist, I can understand your desire for an explanation. As I see it, the trouble began in January, shortly after we convinced your son to seek treatment for substance abuse. Newly sober, I believe Lewis first noticed the monotony of his daily life.
Lo muevo yo, agarro el
He
pescado,
kept working
corta.
at the cannery, but he withdrew part of himself. In our sessions, I saw the same behavior. His mind began to wander.
Ah, muevo también el otro personaje.
I asked him to describe it. He said he started small, imagining a labyrinth. He'd feel his way about. Then something moved. Bats. And toads.
Qué bien hecho.
And things that have not names. He knew it was all in his head. But he took it very seriously. I had hoped he'd find himself. But he found something more. I worried about him then. Daydreaming at the cannery. I spoke with his boss. But he said Lewis had become a model employee. Methodical, tireless, focused. Like a whole new Lewis. So I let him go on. I even encouraged him. It seemed very promising at first. He told me he'd made a new friend. On the edge of a city he named Lewis Topia.
Da la imaginación que
He
tiene la
built the city
familia.
up slowly, brick by brick.
Porque todos tienen una imaginación bárbara. Desde los más
Then he made
chiquitos.
musicians. And songs for them to play. He talked about starting a band. And he was always humming something. Every day his imagination grew stronger. He no longer spoke at the cannery. But his chopping was as reliable as ever. Then one day it struck him that all the cheering crowds, even the stones under his feet, were all in his imagination, so he could do whatever he wished.
Así que podía hacer lo que él quisiera.
He held an election for mayor. And he won. They begged him to stay, but his mind was already wandering. It became a game for him. He'd conquer a city, then immediately push on. New Louisville. St. Louis.
San Luis.
He started drifting away from our reality.
Qué bien hecho.
Minneapolis.
Es difícil prestar
Until one day
atención.
he forgot to go home from the cannery. Even as his mother pleaded with him, part of Lewis kept sailing on.
Claro, está inmerso en su imaginación.
In Lewisburg, he heard rumors of a beautiful prince. The prince was on his own quest for sinister serpents. He followed the sound of his electric sitar. His chase led him to a golden palace east of the sun and west of the moon. Even then, his logic remained sound. He knew the world was all in his imagination. But he was so proud of having created it. In his own eyes, he'd become something greater than a king. For someone who'd never known success in the real world, I think it was overwhelming. And then it struck him that the real Lewis was not the one chopping salmon, but the one climbing the steps of a golden palace.
Claro, se sumergió tanto en esa imaginación que él mismo creía.
My imagination is as real as my body, he told me. It was hard to argue with him.
Qué bien hecho, ¿eh? Como entramos a la fábrica. No, muy bien.
Began to forget the world we know.
Creo que es la fábrica.
I think it pained him to remember Lewis, the cannery worker. He began to despise the man with a royal contempt.
No, ya no coordina, mirá, ya está, lo está haciendo como... Está haciendo la misma mecánica sin hacer nada. Como hipnotizado está. Cinta nos lleva por
I
acá.
still thought I could save him. Even after he said he was being crowned king over all the lands of wonder. The palace would be packed with his companions.
Muy bien hecho. Muy bien hecho.
Including the wise Calico who'd insisted on advising him.
Oli. Debe estar como representado Molly no se llamaba la hermana con la nenita chiquita.
His prince waited, holding his crown. There was only one thing left to do.
Ah, pero eso no tiene forma de...
Hold down his head.
No, te la puedo creer.
And the rest I think you know. Mrs. Finch, your son was a kind man who will be missed by all of us who knew him.
Qué garrón. Lo acompaña en el sentimiento, doctora Emily Nutt. Por favor.
My brother was really cool. I wish you could have met him.
Qué bárbaro. Cómo cuidan el detalle. Al máximo detalle. Mirá.
Lewis and I spent a lot of time playing games together, but he was surprisingly bad at them. He died a lot.
Radio casetera.
On the way back from Lewis's funeral, my mom told me to start packing. She waited until the day before we left to tell Edie.
Eddie, quiero
I'm not sure if she wanted to
la
make it
bisabuela.
easier or harder. I wish we'd stayed. But I understand why we left. My mom ended up leaving everything behind.
Sasha. Ah, este era el marido. Sanja Kuma. To teach, to learn. Tom Finch. No, todo el detalle tiene este juego, por favor.
What happened that night had been coming for a long time.
Déjenmelo en comentarios si alguno conoce otro juego con estas características similares.
Maybe
Yo la
we
verdad que
should
no
have come
conozco.
sooner. But it had to end one way or another. All that's left now is to tell you about that last night. That whole last day, Edie just watched us pack and didn't say a word. Until supper, when she raised her glass and said,
"To our final night together, and all our final nights apart."
Grandma, you know what I said about alcohol. Some of your medications are very
Edith,
specific.
I left a present for you in the hallway. Why don't you go open it? The grown-ups have to argue now.
I'm sorry, you're right. We're all leaving tomorrow. Let's just enjoy our last...
I'm not leaving.
Edith, you're excused.
the power had been shut off that morning, but Edie always had plenty of candles. When my mom sealed the library, I don't think she knew about the other entrance.
Qué bárbaro.
or that Edie had a key to it.
Yo sigo maravillado con, con los gráficos. La verdad que...
That thing you're afraid of isn't going to end when you leave the house.
¿Qué se refiere?
Edith has a right to know these stories.
My children are dead because of your stories!
Uf. Fuerte.
I think it's best if Edith and I leave tonight. We'll have the nursing home send a van for you in the morning. Okay?
Dear Edith, there's so many stories I wish I could tell you, but there's only time for one. This is about what happened on the night you were born. That night, the tide went way, way out. It was the first and last time I ever saw the old house aground.
Mirá la casa.
There'd been an earthquake out in the middle of the ocean. They called it the lowest tide in 1,000 years. God, it smelled awful. You know, I've seen that house every day of my life. But I never thought I'd go back to it. When the fog rolled in, I lost my way. I got turned around.
No se ve nada, nada.
I started seeing things.
No, es cierto.
Things I'd forgotten had ever existed. But when I saw them, they felt like old friends. That night, a lot of things came back to me. Or maybe I came back to them. Things I can't explain, but that I need you to try and...
Edith, what are you doing in here?
It's mine!
Edith!
Mom, you're gonna rip it! Let go! I kicked and screamed, but Mom dragged me to the car. I never saw Great-Grandma Edie again. The next morning, the van came to pick her up, but she was already gone. After that, we moved around a lot. We both tried to make the best of it.
Estoy moviendo yo la mano de la chica.
A few years went by. My mom didn't like to talk about it. But she started getting sick a lot. The rest happened pretty quickly. She got better for a while, and then she didn't. And then I was alone. The last Finch left alive. Until I found out about you. I'm still not sure what to tell you about all this. If we lived forever, maybe we'd have time to understand things. But as it is, I think the best we can do is try to open our eyes. And appreciate how strange and brief all of this is. This journal was supposed to be for you.
Se suponía que el diario era para ti,
But now I hope you'll never see it.
pero ahora espero que no lo veas nunca. Que nunca lo veas.
I just want to meet you
Solo quiero conocerte
and tell you all these stories myself.
y contarte todas estas historias personalmente.
But I guess if you're reading this now,
No,
things didn't work out that way.
las cosas no han salido como pensaba.
This is where your story begins. I'm sorry I won't be there to see it. It's a lot to ask, but I don't want you to be sad that I'm gone. I want you to be amazed that any of us ever had a chance to be here at all. Good luck.
Wow. La verdad que una historia muy triste. Una historia muy triste. La verdad que un juego excelente. Un juego excelente. De la parte gráfica, bueno, ya he dicho un montón de lo maravilloso que es. Las historias también. Te digo, la verdad, las historias están muy bien cuidadas. Lamentablemente es muy triste. Es orientada. Pensé que iba a estar más orientado al suspenso o al tráiler o a lo que es el thriller, perdón. Y no, está más orientado a lo que es el drama. Bueno, la verdad, chicos, a mí me gustó muchísimo. Espero que a ustedes también les haya gustado lo mismo. Déjenme algún comentario de lo que piensan, si conocen algún juego similar de estas características, con esta definición de imagen y todo. Háganmelo saber para próximos juegos. Y bueno, nos estamos viendo pronto con más aventuras, con más juegos y compartir este momento, que es lo más lindo que puede pasar. Así que anden bien y nos vemos prontito. Chau, chau.